the new Social Security formula to determine monthly checks. I have all the details and what you need to know right here in the video, so let's get right into it. All right, now in this video, I want to share with you a new formula they are now talking about, which would be used to determine how much Social Security checks will be for millions and millions of beneficiaries. Now, realistically, this would be a big change, but it would actually probably be a pretty good change for beneficiaries as well, and what I want to talk about here in the video, so let's get right into it. However, really quickly before we do, thanks so much for joining me. If you're new here or if you haven't done so yet, please make sure to subscribe right down below the video. It's totally free to do so, and I'm here for you right by your side each and every day, watching all this new information hitting the wire, doing the research and breaking it all down into these short videos so you can stay posted on what's actually happening right now as things continue to change very rapidly. It's a busy, confusing, and uncertain time, and again, we've got to stick together through this time, and I'm here for you every single day, no matter what. That's my promise, and as always, I'm sticking to it. All right, thanks again. Please subscribe down below if you haven't done so yet, and let's get into it and talk about the new formula they are talking about to determine how much your Social Security check will be and why this may actually be a pretty good thing for a lot of beneficiaries. All right, so another aspect of Social Security. Now, here's the thing. If you've been watching the videos here on the channel for any length of time now, you know Social Security is very complex. It's very confusing. There's a lot of moving parts about this. However, this is another one of the aspects. Now, here's the thing. You probably already know this, but let me tell you how they currently calculate and the formula they currently use right now to determine Social Security benefits for millions and millions of beneficiaries, and then the new formula they are talking about and how this could possibly be a good thing for a lot of people. Seems kind of rare, right? It's not that often that we come out and say, oh, this would actually be a good change, right? There's a lot of things they're talking about, but a lot of which they say, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and then ultimately nothing ever happens, or some things are good and some things are not that good at all, right? So let's talk through the details. Now, first off, the formula that they use right now is they basically take your earnings over your 35 years of your career, and they basically average it all out to determine how much your Social Security benefit will be. Well, that's not exactly the best formula, according to what they're now talking about, is basically taking 35 years. Well, there's not that many people that have 35 years of work history where they can all average that out. Well, as a result of that, this may impact benefits in a pretty big way, right? Well, they're now talking about changing the formula. Now, full disclaimer, I want to throw this out there really quickly. This has not been changed yet, but this is something they are now talking about, and something that they are seriously considering is changing the formula to better reflect how much individuals actually earn during the times that they're working, and again, how much they're actually paying in through Social Security payroll taxes, and this would reflect in their monthly benefit as well. Let me explain what they want to do. So rather than taking average earnings over 35 years and using that to determine how much the person's benefit is going to be on a monthly basis, basically this new formula would say, rather than taking 35 years worth of history, basically they take all the years that somebody was working and paying in through Social Security payroll taxes. Now you might be thinking, wait, isn't that the same thing? Sounds like the same thing. It's not quite the same thing. Let me give you a quick example. Now, again, this is just an example, okay? Obviously, everybody's situation is very different, but let me just give you this example, okay? The first formula is 35 years. So somebody starts working at, say, 20, and they retire at, say, what is that, 55? What is that, 35 years later? Okay, so over that period of time, if the person is working during the entire 35 years, then fine. We have all that earnings that they have. They average it all out, and that's how they determine benefits. But the new formula that they're now talking about is, let's take the same person. They start working at 20. They work for 5 years. Okay, great. They work for 5 years. Those 5 years would be used. Now, let's just say that they say, I'm going to take 2 years off and I'm going to travel the world. I'm not sure how realistic this is, but again, I'm just saying this is the example I'm giving. Now, obviously, everybody's situation is different. Some people take off work to raise a family. Some people just, take off work for other reasons. But again, just saying, okay? This is just the example I'm giving. So this person is now 25. They've taken off 2 years to travel the world or raise a family or whatever it happens to be. It doesn't really matter. They resume into the workforce yet again at the age of 27, okay? So those 2 years in this example and how they want to do this new formula would not be included because they didn't have any work history, they didn't have any earnings, and they didn't pay in through Social Security payroll taxes. Okay, fine. Now the person is 27. They return to the workforce and they're now having an income, they have earnings, and now they're paying in through Social Security payroll taxes yet again. Let's just say that the person works for the next 13 years, all the way until the age of 40. Well, now we have 13 years of work history history plus the original 5 years. Now we have 18 years of work history. Kind of makes sense? So basically this is what they would do. Now let's say at the age of 40 they say, hey, I'm going to take another little sabbatical here. I'm going to take 3 years off and I'm going to go travel the world again. Again, not sure how realistically this really is, but again, this is just an example that I'm giving, right? Doesn't really matter what the person decides to do. I'm just making up this example just so we can all illustrate what's actually happening here. All right, so the person takes off 3 years, 40 years old, their 40th birthday, they decide, okay, I'm going to take off 3 years. They hit the road at the age of, 43, they come back and they say, I'm going to go back into work for another 5 years. Okay, fine. So they have 18 years of work history. Now they go back and they work for another 5 years until they're 48. Okay, so now they take that 5 years and they add it back onto the original 18. So now we're sitting at 23 years of work history. And the 3 years that they took off, well, they didn't have an income. They didn't have earnings, and they certainly didn't pay in their Social Security payroll taxes. Therefore, those 3 years wouldn't be included. So with this formula that they're talking about is rather than taking, like the first example that I gave you, is the person starts working at the age of 20. At the age of 55, they essentially have 35 years during their working career there, and there you go. They average it all together, right? Well, as a result of that, now we're taking person number 2, and the second example that I'm giving you is person starts working at 20, they work for 5 years, they take 2 years off, they work for 13 years, they take 3 years off. So now they're only taking into consideration all of the years in which that they actually were paying into Social Security payroll taxes. They take all that and they average it all out. So kind of an interesting situation. There is a difference. Even though it sounds very, very similar, there's actually a difference. Now, this could potentially impact benefits as well for millions of beneficiaries. Now, again, let's think of it this way. When they come out with all these proposals and they talk about different ways to reform Social Security and change all of these different adjustments and things like this, is it generally in the benefit of the beneficiary, or is it possibly for maybe political reasons? Is it possibly for, making sure that the Social Security Trust Fund is remaining solvent? Again, we always need to wonder what is the real intentions behind all of these changes that they want to implement to Social Security, right? We've always got to ask those questions because are lawmakers there to work in the best interest of the American people? They are. That's what they're there to do, right? That's what they've been elected to do, is work in the best interest of the American people. But do they do that? Well, that's up for debate. I'm not going to turn this into a political statement or a big political discussion here, but we probably all understand this and we probably all know what that all means, right? So we really need to understand what is the real intention behind this. Is this to make sure that the Social Security Trust Fund remains solvent for many more years to come? Is it to make sure that the formula is more efficient and mainly focuses on the higher income years of a person's life? Because here's the thing, if somebody is, basically between the ages of, say, 0 through like 20, 23, something like that, earnings for a person generally isn't all that much, right? I mean, it's really not that much. I mean, maybe a person's working part-time, maybe a person's working full-time, but even during those first few years, when somebody starts working at, say, 14, 15, something like that, whenever people can start working, all the way up until like early 20s, realistically, earnings really just aren't that much, right? Pay is kind of low because skill levels are also low, things like that. Until the person gets into the workforce a little bit longer, then pay starts to increase. So ultimately, this may actually be a good thing because it would have a higher weighting on higher income years for that individual. Kind of makes sense? So anyway, this is the formula that they are now talking about. And again, when I say they, I'm saying lawmakers, right? Remember this much. Social Security doesn't necessarily come out and do all of this reform and change Social Security, but rather it's up to the lawmakers. Lawmakers are the ones that have the magic stick, right? They're the ones that wave the magic wand and say, voila, I've got a snake in my hat. Or, sorry, it was supposed to be a rabbit, right? Oh, look it, they've been revealed. It's actually a snake. You know what I mean? I think that's what I'll probably think anyway. Or maybe it's like a scorpion or something like that. Something, not fluffy like a little rabbit, right? Anyway, hope this one helps you out. But again, I want to keep you posted with everything going on out there and what lawmakers are currently talking about. Now, again, we've heard so many different bills, packages, and proposals coming out of Congress, all kinds of things that they want to change for Social Security. It's about time they do something. I mean, here's the thing. At some point, they need to take action here, right? But again, it's nice that they're not just jumping into it and saying, all right, that's the solution, let's do it, right? It's nice that they're taking a little bit of time here and actually determining what is the best approach going forward for Social Security. And we would hope, crossing our fingers, that they're also thinking the same thing for beneficiaries as well. because ultimately that's what it's all about. I mean, the program is great. Don't get me wrong. We want to worry about the trust fund and things like that. But at the end of the day, it's all about the beneficiary. The whole program is there for the beneficiaries. That's the purpose, right? So anyway, hope this one helps you. Again, I just want to keep you posted with everything going on out there and what lawmakers are currently talking about. Another thing we can add to the pile here of different, talk that they're discussing and potential changes coming in for Social Security. But again, I'm going to continue watching everything closely as I get more information on anything going on right now in regards to money, benefits, checks, stimulus, or anything in regards to like fixed income benefits from Social Security, retirement, SSDI, survivors, SSI, VA, RRB, low income, no income, seniors, older adults, people with disabilities, programs for the low income. I mean, literally the list goes on and on. You can see all the thousands of videos here I have on the channel. You can clearly see all the things that we cover here on a regular basis. A lot of stuff. I'm watching all of it very closely, and I want to provide as much value as I can through these videos. So hope you're having a nice day. Again, please subscribe down below if you haven't done so yet. Share the video with your friends, family, social media, and go back and check out any of the other thousands of videos here on the channel. Until next time, enjoy your day, and catch you again later in the